Ba-doom, ba-doom, doom, doom. I guess I'm live again, but I didn't post anything to the Discord, so hang on, folks. We're almost there. Just want to post this on the Discord, just because, you know, that's what I do. Okay, here we are. Okay, I need to tell this not to show at startup. I'm gonna go like this. Turn that off now. Close it, and then rerun Tahoma so I don't have to see that every time. Boom, boom, and boom. Okay, so that's getting ready to run. So live streamed this morning, and I'm just, you know, I got a bunch of things done around the house and blah blah blah, and so I figured I'm gonna work on my cartoon just a little bit more. What do you think about that? That's what I'm gonna do. So here we are. Okay, so here's what happened when I finally got the shot done in Krita. Had to mess with the timing a bit, but so this is what we have. Here, building up to it. Here it goes. Here's the shot right here. See? Goes by pretty quick. But all in all, came out okay. I had to no pun intended. I had to monkey with the timing on the dust bubble. I don't know that what I did there is, like, you know, the greatest it's ever been done, but it sits with what Monkey did pretty well. The key idea being that the dust bubble had to be moved to start a lot earlier to make it work, and then the gradual fade out, I think, pretty well worked. So there it is. There it is, friends. There's the wrap up to what we did this morning. Sure. Now we have the tavern keeper saying, "I thought I told you to beat it." All right. Okay. Okay. His exact dialogue is, "And I thought I told you to get lost." Okay. How do we want to do this? This is just going to be a little bit of fun. So the last shot we did, just for the record, friends, it was 3-94G. So actually, I'm going to restart so that I get the normal splash screen, and I'll just put in, what was it, 0394H, I guess is what it would be. Here we go, friends. Waiting patiently for Tahoma to run. Okay, 03-94- H. Right? Right. Okay. So, the kids, why don't we just kind of use frame 1 here to lock things in. From overhead, the physical situation is, here's the tavern. Tavern keeper's here. Kids are basically standing here. Actually, Mel is still standing more like here, and the other two are like here. So he's looking basically this way, but his eyes have been darting back this way. So when Monkey ran out, he ran out here. When we saw the Johnny slide that we did in the last shot, basically we would have theoretically seen that be happening about here. Monkey wheels, turns left, and takes off this way. So Monkey's over here somewhere. So this actually does all make sense. So now what has to happen before we get to the next shot with Monkey, which is Monkey triumphantly holding up the bag of nuts, at least now we've established that the physical layout of the situation did in fact make sense. If Monkey spun and did what we just looked at, and by the way, I better make sure I'm on the right screen. Okay, I am. Then he's going to end up over here somewhere. So for him to show up behind the kids so that we see this bit right here, ta-da, actually makes sense. So that's good. Okay, but that's not what we're actually going to see. So now what we have to do is take this whole thing and flip it this way, 90 degrees, so we can look at what's really happening from the perspective of the kids, right? So we'll delete that. Which would be Mel, let's just say Mel's here in the foreground. Luca would be here. Tianara's here. Okay, so it's not exactly a silhouette kind of thing. But what I'm thinking is, okay, I'm almost seeing two shots here. By the way, I'm going to take a quick look at the chat. We got some viewers, but nothing going on. So, okay, cool. All right, so Tavern Keeper's here. And in my imagination, what I'm seeing, and I just gave him those silly armbands that he doesn't actually have. What I'm seeing is, actually, the elbow would be there. This is a very foreshortened kind of pose. So he's standing there, basically with his hands on his hips. So now the question becomes, well, wait a minute. Do we need to show the guy with his hands on his hips? No, actually we don't. As a matter of fact, now that I'm thinking about this. Why? Well, because when he starts saying his line, and I thought I told you guys, I thought I told you to get lost. That happens, the line of dialogue begins and triggers Mel actually to turn this way. So actually, the line of dialogue, I'm going to move it back a little bit. And I thought I told you to get lost. Okay. So, in point of fact, for the edit to make sense, this does not make sense. Bearing in mind, by the way, that we could cut to a close-up too, but what I'm thinking is, so he would have already been turned towards the kids. So let's just say here's the wall of the tavern. For reference, so Tavern Keeper's here, and he is already turned towards the kids. I would say that's too big. Whoops. I'm going to put him, yeah, actually I am going to put him here. I mean, that puts him on the rule of thirds. These guys are, I mean, if you wanted to be picky about it from a compositional standpoint, fine. They probably should be about there. All right. So this guy, I have to kind of get his whole anatomy blocked in, and then that will reveal to me if the scale is going to be a problem. It looks like it is. No big deal. So I'm seeing his fist up in the air because he's going to say told you. So I'll block it in right now. This dude, he's like this. Actually, I'm not going to block in, come to think of it, because I want to make sure I get the scale right first, because I don't want to be piling. I won't explain it. You create these dependencies by baking something into a frame, and then it's baked into the next frame, and you get 3 or 4 frames down the line, and you realize that there's something in the drawing that you know is definitely wrong, that you should have corrected, on the first frame. All right, this looks pretty good. This guy, of course, had long hair. All right, so what do we want to do with him? Truth of the matter is, let me think about this. It would be better to cut to a close-up, so I'm going to say that scale looks pretty good to me. So again, this would be Melchizedek. Right? This would be Mel. This would be Tia. And then, of course, Luca. Now, yes, all right. It's one of those dyslexia things. I have to look at the other shots and make sure that I'm not accidentally reversing it in my mind. Looks like we're in good shape. Oops, I don't like that. Okay, save what worked, by the way. Okay, I'm going to make a dupe on this. And let's just say turn on one skin. Okay. Just get the basic positioning right and then turn the skins back off. So we'll give Mel 1 frame of animation. So here, if the shoulders are here, then okay, so then this guy, I don't think I like that. Yeah, I don't like it because, honestly, first of all, we really should have a shift in his weight. He can keep his feet planted, but there would be a shift in his weight. So now where would his finger be? I guess we want to put the finger up like this. Something of that nature. Okay, so now I'm just curious how this feels. Obviously that goes by real quick. Let's turn on implicit hold for the moment just to make it simpler. Okay, my sense is that probably we want to extend this because it is the beginning of the cut and we don't want to throw away that first frame. Boom. So it would be like, and I thought I told you to get lost. Okay, which means, okay, told you to get lost. Okay, so right there, let me see. Okay, this would be cheating, but it's actually a really good cheat. Here's the cheat. If in fact this is at the beginning of the shot, it's only on the screen for 2 frames, but it's there to allow us to feel this change right here, right? Okay, that means that our brains never digest this because it goes by too quick. It's there for feeling more than for detail. This shot, on the other hand, we're going to be sitting on it for a bit. Okay? However, the interesting thing is, where did I do that? I said, you to get lost. So yeah, I think it was frame 11. But if I turn this back to frame 1, I should be able to get away with that. Why? Because we're locked on this, and then we'll be locked on this, and so the thing I'm about to add, which is his thumb prominently pointing in the other direction, you're not going to notice that thumb when you see it up here. You get it? So why don't we just put that in there so that after he says get lost, he's basically thumbing him to hit the road jack. So I thought I told you to get lost. Okay, that feels like it should be up a frame or 2. I'm going to go Control X and see if that feels. You to get lost. Okay, yeah, and then of course we're not going to repeat this. You know, the thing with Mel's head. Of course we're going to put them on separate levels, so this will stay. And then we'll just get this changed. So what have we got? We got 2 frames of the Tavern Keeper and 2 frames of the kids. That's the deal. Hey, who's watching? A couple of people watching. Nobody's talking today. Are you new people? I want to know. I want to know who's visiting me. I like it when I get visitors. So we'll save that. Okay? So let's take this, crank the opacity down. It's just a guide after all. And now we can get busy with layers for the kids. So we'll call this layer kids. Technically, they're not called layers in Tahoma. They're called levels. So, okay, let's be proper about it. These are actually levels, my friends, and not Not layers. Layers is such an ungainly term. Oops, I put these on the wrong... Put them in the wrong place. Okay, so by the way... alright, this is important. Kudos to Manangjan, I think, here. This is interesting. What we're running right now is actually the nightly build of Tahoma2D 1.5 because the fix that was made last week because of an issue I found, and then it spread like wildfire all the way to the developer. Thank you, everybody that helped accomplish that. It got fixed real quick, but I was looking at the release notes. I was actually looking at the code, the code comparison to see what he did, and like so many programming things I've talked about here, it turned out that the essence of the problem and solution, if you look at the code, it's clearly what's a good metaphor for people that aren't coders? If you had like 3 jars, and one of the jars has water in it, and you've got to get the jar into the other one, but you have to put something else in the one that you're emptying. That type of thing where you have to have temporary placeholders for things. You need to be able to dump the water into a neutral third place so that you can then dump the stuff into that jar, and then you see what I mean? You always have these temporary placeholders. And then what happens is if the sequencing of the way you sort of shuffle data around in order to make it appear seamless and kind of magical, if the ordering's off, then you know, you could have a bug or things don't work the way you wanted or expected, blah, 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 blah. That looks like largely what it was in the code. There was something that was in the wrong order, and the change he made just shifted things around a little bit, and all of a sudden the problem is fixed. So anyway, that's what I observed in the code. Point of the story being that when I was looking at the release notes, I am wondering, and if anybody like Tom or anybody that usually is kind of like into the code side of things is here, you may be able to tell me, but I think this is new. This is something we've wanted for a long time. Traditionally, you would have to, how the heck would you do it? I do not remember, maybe I'm imagining this, I don't remember in Tahoma2D being able to just grab a cell and start dragging. Just click and drag, and it works. That is new. I'm pretty sure that's new. Anybody know anything about that? I don't know. That's pretty cool. Okay. Now here's the kids. And so, do we go straight to ink or do we tighten this up? I say we go straight to ink. I don't think there's any good reason to belabor it. And of course, I have to remind myself actually that I'm not working on the same level, so I don't have to worry about the you know, the red lines interfering with the black lines, so to speak. Yeah, I have to say, let me go to, see, that's actual size. What is it in Tahoma? Is it tab? Nope. Is it tilde? Nope. Nope. That's my hotkey to. That's my hotkey to isolate a layer. I can't remember what is the, I don't know, maximize panel equivalent of that. Now if I hit escape, oh, double click again. Let's do that. But the reason I was doing is just so I can zoom in closer and see better what I'm doing. So I'll be a little bit more picky about my ink lines here. Luca? How come nobody's talking this afternoon? There's just nothing to say, apparently. nothing to say. Okay, well that was a little winky dinky. Can it be salvaged in this way? Not really. Not really, friends. Might be just better to just erase. And then I'm going to actually hit the M key to reverse the screen so I can see better what I'm doing. Okay. I don't particularly love rotating the screen. A lot of people do, though, and nothing wrong with that. I just don't tend to be much of a screen rotator. Okay. Okie dokie. Melchizidek. How you doing there, Mel? Having a good day? Honestly, Mel's been having a pretty crappy day, if the truth be known. This whole sequence has been a bit humiliating. But, hey. It's all part of growing up, kid. All part of growing up. This is, just so you know, this is very wide, so we don't need to get into a lot of detail in the eyes. Okay. That's a little sloppy right there. Something happened in the chat. Nobody's chatting. Just somebody else is watching. That's all. Saying, well, what is this fella doing? What is he doing? Why is he animating? For no apparent reason. On a Sunday afternoon. What the heck's up with that? Oh, I don't know. That's what people wonder. What do people wonder? I wonder. Ah, well, there's your answer. People wonder what people wonder. Okay, I am actually going to kind of break the rules here a little bit. Because I don't want to get into drawing his shoulder and introducing tangents and this sort of stuff. So I'm just going to keep it simple, Sherlock. Let's hit the N key. Zoom out a bit. And probably we do need to put in the boy's belt, however. Okay. And now, I guess I need to double click. Okay, so we do it there. This is going to be a duplicate, D key. And then we simply hit grab this selection, chop it out. Chop it out, I say. Chop it out. Get it out of there for good and forever. You say, Dave, what the heck? Why are you, like, speaking in stupid British voices and stuff? It's fun. Look, you know what I watched the other day? Maybe I mentioned this before in the live stream, but the other day I watched Young Frankenstein. I hadn't seen it in a long, long time, and I had been getting some clips from it showing up on my feed. I'm like, yeah, you know, I remember seeing it in the theater when it came out. 1974. I kid you not. And I did go and see it in the theater when it was first released. But, so, well, what's the point of the story? The point of the story is, when I was about 8, 9 years old, we had a record, back when records were a thing. We had a 33 RPM record of Young Frankenstein. And it wasn't the musical soundtrack. It was actually, they took the soundtrack of the movie and just took, you know, an hour and a half movie or whatever it is and trimmed it out to the essential audio that tells the story, and it was literally the soundtrack of the movie itself, but just edited, right? And it, at like 8, 9 years old or something, I was memorizing. I like would listen to that thing and memorized it, and I would play it out. Like, I have a question, Dr. Frankenstein. It's Frankenstein. You must be Igor. No, it's pronounced Igor. They told me it was Igor. Well, they were wrong, weren't they? Etc., etc. I mean, even as a little kid, that's what I did. It's probably why people found me so annoying. It's not necessarily a virtue, friends. Okay. Onward and upward with this fella. Nobody's talking. I can't believe it. Nobody's even wanting to chit-chat. What a day, what a day. Oopsie, wrong brush there, fella. Okay, again, this guy is so tiny on the screen. Gotta keep it simple. And let me think about this for a minute. Well, it's the old animation story, work from the known to the unknown. These are the knowns. Angular features, little bit of age-ish looking kind of vibe. The guy's no youngster. Or he's certainly had a hard life, let's put it that way. That looks pretty good. That feels pretty good. Okay. Be able to smack the lip sync over top of that. And so I only have to draw this once because we've got 2 keyframes and we're just going to be swapping between them. So boom, 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 boom. Yeah, this guy is pretty burly, man. He's a pretty burly dude. He is no pushover. It's a throwback to my youth. Back when I thought I wanted to draw comic books. I wanted to be John Buscema. I really did. But then music took over my life. That's the truth. I was totally on the track that it was all going to be about cartoony. And then music happened. I started playing guitar, and I got totally into it, totally obsessed with it. Learned to play guitar, keyboards, drums, the whole deal. Wanted to create radio jingles. Mainly because, you know, in the Midwest, how else are you going to make a living with music? I mean, you can go out and gig, of course, but there's kind of an inherent ceiling on how much money you can make gigging, you know? Still nothing in the chat. No one loves me. Everyone hates me. I'm going to go eat worms. That's alright. We're going to get the ink in here. Maybe we'll paint it. Yes. I'm going to cheat. Control C, Control V. Hit this little number right there. Boom. Yeah. That's what we call cheating. Yes. Cheating is good. Very, very good. Okay. Oop, we got to get his hand in there. Don't forget the hand there, fella. Okay, I have to be careful. The positioning of the hand is definitely off in the sketch. So trying to visualize it in my mind and okay, we got a leak. Not a bad idea to hit Control-Shift-F. According to Control-Shift-F, the fill check tool, we are in good stead. Okay, so there's that. And now, what did we say we were going to do? We said we were going to, first and foremost, take this whole bit. Think about it here for a minute. I guess we want to go right under that line. Okay, take that whole bit, anchor it to his belly button, and shift it. Okie doke. Okay, B. B key. So now we just fill in these missing bits, and we correct the egregious bits. Okay? Now, this might be one of those examples where not having drawn the sketch more carefully might bite me in the hiney. In the hiney. That's what they call it, the hiney. But we will see. I guess not. I think that's probably okay. Now, that's a little exaggerated, but you know what? Well, I was going to say it's kind of justified, but actually, I'm thinking I maybe went a little too far. That's Comic Book Dave right here that you're seeing draw. Comic Book Dave, who was like royally into Frazetta and Buscema. Not so much like Kirby and stuff. Although I did like Gene Colan from the standpoint of layout, like the way he told stories visually. He was pretty freaking solid, that guy. Gene Colan. He did Tomb of Dracula. Okay, and now what did we say we were going to do? We said we were going to take number 1 and just stick it back in here. So, what time is it? 2:54. We're doing good. So that he can say, I told you to get lost. I told you to get lost. You guys get the idea. Okay. Now all we got to do is color it in. This can all be deleted. And let's think about this for just a moment. One thing I do kind of see that's a little problematic is, okay, here's what we're going to have to do. This is a little Tahoma2D lesson. Okay, I didn't really draw this, you know, as sandals kind of thing. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just grab this, Control C, and go into this picture, and I'm not going to just paste it in. And it could be that because I didn't, let's see what happens. Oh, it did work. Okay, it worked. So, there we go. So that's fixed now. Fixed, I say. All right. Color this guy. Fill tool. Oh, okay, stop everything. I don't want to have that going on, so let's do the fill check. Oh, well, that might have something to do with it there, fella, since you're literally on the wrong layer, or level, I should say. We want to use the proper nomenclature. Poof. Okay, now that's my fault. Well, that's what I said the other day. The one weakness of the fill check tool is you can miss something because of what we just saw right there. The overall shape is fillable, but there's an interior shape that still needs to be closed. So that's on me. That's on me, friends. That's on me. Normally on a Tahoma2D level, I don't much care that I have the colors exact when I'm doing this, because I'll just tune them up afterwards. So I usually just take these just few colors that are already there and just use them and then change them. So hence I colored people with blue hair, etc. It might be a bit hard to understand. Fill. Alright, and well, we're gonna have a problem there too because of that little bit. Let's see if that fixed it. It did. Okay, cool. Okay. This guy had a, I guess I'll touch that up with the Smart Raster Paint Tool. Okay, his garment, I believe, actually, let's just find a reference right now. Let's quit dinking around and find the, I'm waiting for Vegas to wake up, by the way, on the other screen. Wake up on the other screen, Vegas. There you are. Okay, let's go back until we find an instance of the Tavern Keeper. Up, there he is. There he is. In kind of a similar pose, actually. So, alright, that's all I need to see. Back here, I was correct. His shirt is basically a light blue-ish. His apron, we're going to make obnoxious red so that we can see it and we know that it actually got done. And now we can take this and just make it a little off-white. Okay, so we had these, which are supposed to be the same color as his belt, although I didn't actually give him the belt. So it's going to be really desaturated and pretty dark. The hair, obviously, was just kind of grayish. Okay. His skin tone, as I recall, was a little lighter. You know, he is an older guy. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but... And then, let's just play around here. Just a slight push to the yellow side. Okay. Groovy, cool. Alright, so now... Obviously, we could just continue by doing some cutting and pasting, but... I don't know. I feel like just... I'm not being facetious here either, or sarcastic. That I feel like torturing myself a bit to just do some meticulous paint work kind of thing. Friends, one thing that may cross your mind at some point, that's a problem, is what if I have two colors in the palette? Okay, stay with me here. This is a good one. Good little tip. What if I have two colors in the palette and then I don't remember, and I didn't label them. I can't remember which is which. Here's the answer. Go back here to where the colors were used, because his hair and his apron obviously are really similar. So I'm thinking, I don't know which one's the hair and which one's the apron. If I could name one or the other, then I'd know what the other is, obviously. Here's what you do. Hit the, well, for me it's the G key, but it's this tool right here. What happens is you select this, and Tahoma jumps to that palette entry. So this would be the apron, which of course tells me that this is his hair. No need to label it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is check this. Okay, just to make sure I did in fact fill that with the correct color. Okay, so we're back into fill mode. It's a little persnickety, and it is because of the way I'm doing the ink, but I like it. What can I say? I like the feel. I like the look. Doink. And yeah, by the way, he is going to have a mouth, but it would be kind of silly to put the mouth on the same layer as the... because then I have to have a bazillion drawings. I'd rather just have a bazillion mouth shapes. Okay, so here's the apron, and I guess what I probably should do is actually use the brush to close that shape. Okay, and then this was the wristbands, right? And I think, dear friends, that we are actually maybe done with the Tavern Keeper. Okay. Rewind. Back to here. And we'll do a fill on, boop, Luca. Okay, if that's going to be Luca's skin, his skin trends a little bit more to the yellow side, but not into olive. Olive would be Tianara. He's going to be more like that. And frankly, a little darker skin. He's not like super dark skin, but he is a little bit dark skin. Oop, picked the wrong color, but that's all right. I'll just change this to that. And we'll use this as his legendary cap that he wears all the time. Okay, so that took care of Luca. So now this is going to be, okay, I'm just feeling it here. Needs to trend a little bit more to the brown, and then maybe a little less saturated. Yeah, not too bad. Poof, this is basically something of that nature. Poof. And this is, of course, the blue. There you go. Take that, make it slightly lighter, and that's the trim. Take that, jump down here. His hue is going to be a little bit more Caucasian, I think, for lack of a better term. I don't know what else you would say. A little bit more in that direction, but that's actually a little too dark. Something like that. Let's keep rocking. This is going to be Mel's equally legendary purple hair. That'll work. Poof. Poof. Okay, I'm going to use the same color for his band. Actually, strike that. Strike that. I changed my mind. That's not dark enough. There we go. It really needs to be a little less saturated. So, there we go. Okay. Let's just have a sort of random desaturated dark color, and we'll call that Melchizedek's belt, and then we'll just sort of find a way to make it sit in the mix okay. And then we've got that color, and that's done. Okay, now we can go. What I was saying earlier you could do is you could cheat this way. You could kind of grab everything that you can, like this. Control C. And just paste it in here. And odds are you're going to be okay. Alright, so let's keep rocking. All I have to do now is color in Mel's stuff. Boom and boom. And finally, okay. Is the shot actually kind of getting, well, animation-wise, it's getting pretty close to done. Now, I need to make a choice. What time is it? 3:05? Okay. Got a choice. Got a choice. I could render this, bring it into Krita for shadows and whatnot. There's so few keyframes that there's no real reason not to. Yeah, that would be my assessment. The only reason to be a stickler about keeping it in Tahoma would be if there was a lot of animation, especially with the plastic tool. Then it's easier to just have the shadows, especially the local shadows, baked into the character. Right? And by the way, people viewing, identify yourself. Identify yourself. Okay. So I'm thinking we render this. I'm thinking we jump to Krita. New scene. Actually, you know what? Let's do it this way. Let's pull up an old scene. And while I'm thinking about it, let me think about this for just a moment. Yeah, we don't really have a great background for this shot. Let me look at this. Because the tavern's kind of there. And then you got, I think we're going to have to do a new painting from scratch maybe on this one. Doesn't happen too often, but there it is. Okay, so therefore, just grab a scene because the main, no wait, that was the wrong one to grab. I need one that's a normal scene that's 8 frames per second. Okay, so now we're going to just, we've got our scene, poof, let's just delete everything. And now we'll import our animation frames. Import animation frames. From where? Well, we're going to go to Tahoma would have rendered them here. So we're going to grab those babies, pull them in, and that's it. That's the whole story. Cool. So now we're going to save this and the H folder. Boop, 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 boop. Keep your work organized. Okay. So that's done. Now we're rocking. Okay, so the background, what do you want to do with the background? Well, first thing we want to do is that. We got 32 frames, which is probably fine. So let's go to Control R, because at this point right away we want to change this to be H. And we want to change this to be H. To be H. Whoa, wait a second. Yes, that makes sense. So we are actually overwriting the frames that we rendered out from Tahoma. We're overwriting them right now. Doesn't matter, because once you import them into Krita, they're not being referenced on the hard drive. Okay? They are actually baked into the Krita file. So, just be aware of that little detail. Okay, so as far as the background goes, boy, I mean, let's just say compositionally you got a little bit of horizon here, you got a little bit of an edge of a building here. If it's the tavern, then it would have sort of an awning. That definitely does not work. That's very, 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 very bad. Let's push that back there a little bit and move that up too. Which is probably okay, because the kids, I mean, the fact is that if the edge of the next building was actually here, it would not be ridiculous. Now, obviously, in this scenario, that would, well, I guess it wouldn't necessarily cover up Luca, but so let's run with that. So then, what do we have in the background? Fair question. Probably, you know, like this kind of stuff, mountains. And over here, you would probably have some hint of the other side of the street, the shops and whatnot that are over there. I don't like that at all, though. That looks really bad, and the reason it looks bad is because the tavern keeper, his sizing here is completely all wrong. Let's start over. That I did not like at all. So I might have to break here. I might want to gel on this one. Meanwhile, we could knock out those shadows, of course. So we'll call this CHAR for characters. And we just put a layer above this. Hit the B key. And, well, we want that to be opaque. Okay. This will be alpha locked, like that. And it will, of course, be turned down to a more reasonable value. Right. So this is what we like to call local shadows, as opposed to like overall shadow or cast shadow. I call them local shadows because they're specific to the character's poses and whatnot. A little bit in there. Oops. Don't do that. I actually do not like that shadow on his ear. Okay, and then we got Tianara kind of under her hairline, kind of thing. This brush is like out of control. Boy, it's really out of control. Do I have the right brush? Thought I did. It's feeling alright. Feeling alright. I ain't feeling too good myself. Okay, okay, so do we want to bake all of this into one layer? I mean, it's arguably kind of dumb, but what the heck, let's do it anyway. Okay, so at this point, the light from the sun would be, I mean, it's probably not like high noon or anything, but the sun would be kind of up in the sky, so everybody's kind of getting shadows going on from above. And as I said, the non-local shadows would be a broader cast shadow, not cast shadow. Cast shadow would be like what you see on the ground. Just an overall tint, like to the characters, that you would maybe do with a shadow layer. Let's see, we've got this. Okay, so now we will control insert, so we will make a duplicate so that everything that we can keep, we will keep. Okay, so that means, let's just hit the erase, clean out the garbage, and that's pretty much it. And then, oops, back out of erase mode. My point about the shadows is there's almost surely going to be another layer of shadows, actually, just because compositionally it just makes sense. All right, so there's that. Oh wait, mistake, sorry. Back here, I forgot about this guy. I forgot that we made an adjustment to his body position. Okay, let's just jump back and see. Seems a little sloppy there, Dave. Obviously, this is a very big brush for what I'm trying to do right now. But remember what Peter Ellenshaw said. Big brush. Use the big brush. House painter brush. Peter Ellenshaw did a lot of the matte paintings and special effects in the in Disney films. Okay, actually there's one more thing I'm not liking here. I want to see that little bit. Okay, so now we go. Okay, so now he's back in that position, which means what we're going to have to do here, this is what makes it a little tricky. What we're going to do is grab this shadow, Control C, come back here, and on this frame we hit Control Insert, so we use the same keyframe. Wait. Okay, I guess I did it. Didn't realize I did it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to add another layer. Okay, so this would be what I normally call SHD for shadow, and this would be like shadow 2 or something like that. What is shadow 2 for? Well, shadow 2 is for just the overall tint situation. So we can be bold here and just start smacking it in there. The concept here being that Melchizedek is more like in shadow, and the other two, well, aren't. Okay? Oh, trust me, friends, it'll all make sense in the end. Okay. And I don't know, do we want a little bit here? I'm going to try it. Why not? Since some of today's work was supposedly inspired by Johnny Quest, why don't we just put in some bold Alex Toth type ink. It's about to be toned down anyway. Okay, so there's these guys, and we probably should hit Control Insert. Alright, so what do? Let's crank this down. Up, we're not locked. Let's get alpha locked. Nah, something like that. Something like that. And this guy, something like that. Get it? Okay. I'm gonna hit Control Insert and just basically scribble till it feels right. And then back here, I think we got a little bit of doubling up there on our shadow. Maybe zooming in would help. Oh, yes. Okay, that's in this layer actually. Bear with me while I make a minor correction. Whoops. Dave, you're in erase mode. Oh yeah. Sorry about that. Alright, save our work. I told you to get lost. Where was that glitch? Oh, it's right at the beginning. Okay, what do we got here? Oh, it's just because the shadows were a little different between these two poses. I didn't do them exactly the same. And so you're getting jolted when it loops. That doesn't matter. This is on the screen for 2 frames. Alright. So the glitch is, yeah, when it loops. Alright, save that. Control R. Render it. I mean, I'll let it render, but actually I probably should put something in the background just for kicks and giggles. So I'm going to go to my backgrounds folder on the other screen. I know you guys can't see what I'm doing right now. I'm just doing a quick look at my grips and pictures. You know what? I'm just going to stick this in here as a file layer. Something I noticed some time ago is that file layers for wait, you can't use this. Oh, you can use a transform mask. I forgot. The transform masks in Krita with really large background images like this are frighteningly performant. I don't know how they got this so right when so many other aspects of it are wrong, but it really is pretty sweet. So this is absolutely not even close to being the correct image. Not even close. Nothing about this even resembles what it should actually be. I'm just putting a placeholder in there. Yeah, that definitely doesn't work. If you were going to do that, it would have to be something like this. Now we're getting somewhere. That's actually somewhat what's supposed to be going on. Particularly if we go ahead and blur the rear part of it. That's not too bad, as a matter of fact. We would want to put some shadows under this guy. Then what we'd have to do is just replace this. paint over this with the side of the, the side of the tavern. So we'll leave that there for now. Just so that we can render it and stick it in the show and just kind of see how things are feeling. Go, baby, go. Okay. Alright, switching screens. Gonna wrap up here in just a couple minutes. Switching screens. I want to see that Johnny slide again. That's cool, man. That was cool. Okay, so what we're doing is we're going to insert the half-finished shot. Boom, boom, and boom. 8 frames per second. There it is. We do not want resampling. And alright, I'm just going to kind of look at what we got here. And then we'll wrap it up. Good point. I told you to get out of here. I told you to get lost. I thought I what did he say? It says, I thought I told you to get lost. Okay. So yeah, the lighting's a little winky. But let's face it. If the kids were tinted down a little bit, and this guy had a cast shadow, we'd be in pretty good shape. Then we just need to touch up the background painting. But okay, we can do that maybe a little later. So that is it for me for now. You guys have been very quiet today. I've got people watching, but nobody's talking. So, all right, I'm out of here. As you guys know, there will be more later.